Hallelujah, Shalom family, love to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Welcome. On this channel I discuss topics to edify and encourage the children of Yisrael to return to the ancient path of Yahuwah. I invite you to comment, like, subscribe, and share this video. Wa'ikra, or Leviticus chapter 23. And Yahuwah spoke unto Moshe, saying, Also on the 10th day of this 7th month there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a set-apart convocation unto you, and you shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah. And you shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before Yahuwah your Elohim. We're going to talk about Yom Kippur, commonly called the Day of Atonement or Yom Kippur. Kafar. Kafar means atonement, expiation. When we go deeper, we find that kafar means to cover, purge, make an atonement, make reconciliation, cover over with pitch, placate or cancel, pacify, pardon, disannul, forgive, cleanse. So this is a day of covering over or pacifying our debt of sin that we have made against Yahuwah, our Elohim. Ana. Ana is the word that is translated in English as afflict. It means to afflict, oppress, humble, bow down. Nefesh. The word nefesh is translated into English as souls. It means soul, life, creature, person, appetite, mind, desire, emotion, passion, pleasure. Back to Wa'ikra chapter 23. Also on the 10th day of this 7th month there shall be a day of atonement. So when we look at that phrase in the Hebrew, we find that it says Yom Kippurim. So we see that the biblical name of the Day of Atonement actually is not Yom Kippur. In the Torah, Yahuwah calls this day Yom Kippurim. Wa'ikra chapter 23. For whatsoever soul it be that it shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. And whatsoever soul it shall be that does any work in that same day, that soul will I destroy from among his people. You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and you shall afflict your souls. In the 9th day of the month at even, from even unto even, shall you celebrate your Sabbath. According to the instruction that Yahuwah gave through Moshe, his prophet, this commandment, or this observance of this moed, or appointed time, is a statute forever throughout our generations, in all our dwellings. In other words, wherever we live, we are to keep or observe this moed, or appointed time. And as we understand that we are to observe this day, the Day of Atonement, on the 10th day of the 7th month of the Hebrew calendar, our observance of Yom Kippurim, or the Day of Atonement, actually begins at the end of the 9th day of the month. So we begin our observance of the Day of Atonement on the 9th day of the month, and it says at even. So even begins after noon. Noon is when the sun is at its highest point. And after that, the sun goes down into sunset. So we are to observe, or begin our observance of the Day of Atonement on the 9th day of the 7th month, at the end of the day, going into the 10th day. And of course it ends at the end of the 10th day at sunset. Midbar, chapter 29. And you shall have on the 10th day of this 7th month a set apart convocation, and you shall afflict your souls. You shall not do any work therein. So we see this commandment repeated of afflicting our souls. Vayikra 16. And this shall be a statute forever unto you, that in the 7th month, on the 10th day of the month, you shall afflict your souls, and do no work at all, whether it be one of your own country or a stranger that sojourns among you. For on that day shall the priest make an atonement for you, to cleanse you, that you may be clean from all your sins before Yahuwah. It shall be a Sabbath of rest unto you, and you shall afflict your souls by a statute forever. We see clearly stated that this is a statute forever. Every Israelite is to do this, and every foreigner who is a convert to the way of the Torah is to do this. Tehillah, or Psalm, chapter 35. But as for me, when they were sick, my clothing was sackcloth. I humbled my soul with fasting, and my prayer returned into my own bosom. I behaved myself as though he had been my friend or brother. I bowed down heavily, as one that mourns for his mother. So now we're looking at what it actually means for a person to afflict their soul. Here we see the psalmist saying that he humbled his soul with fasting. That word humbled comes from the same word, ana, which was translated earlier as afflicted. So he humbled or afflicted his nefesh with fasting. And this is what the Israelites understood afflicting the soul to be, or how to afflict one's soul, is to afflict one's soul through fasting. Tzum. Tzum is the word that is translated into English as fast or fasting. Ezra chapter 8. Then I proclaimed a fast there at the river Ahaba, that we might afflict ourselves before our Elohim, to seek of him a right way for us, and for our little ones, and for all our substance. For I was ashamed to require of the king a band of soldiers and horsemen to help us against the enemy in the way, because we had spoken unto the king, saying, The hand of our Elohim is upon all them for good that seek him, but his power and his wrath is against all them that forsake him. So we fasted, and besought our Elohim for this, and he was entreated of us. So we see here in the book of Ezra, again, Ana and Tzum, the Israelites afflicted themselves by fasting. Yeshayahu, or Isaiah chapter 58. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up your voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sins. Wherefore have we fasted, say they, and you see not? Wherefore have we afflicted our soul, and you take no knowledge. Behold, in the day of your fast you find pleasure, and exact all your labors. Behold, you fast for strife and debate, and to smite with the fist of wickedness. You shall not fast as you do this day, to make your voice to be heard on high. Is it such a fast that I have chosen, a day for a man to afflict his soul? Is it to bow down his head as a bulrush, and to spread sackcloth and ashes under him? Will you call this a fast and an acceptable day to Yahuwah? So we see the prophet speaking by the Spirit of Yahuwah, talking about the Israelites and how they are not fasting or are afflicting their soul in a manner that pleases Yahuwah. We see that he says to lift up his voice like a trumpet. We understand that it is a commandment that on the Moedim that the Israelites are to blow a trumpet for the appointed times. And what was the complaint about their fasting? In the day of your fast you find pleasure and exact all your labors. We see that the Day of Atonement was to be a Sabbath. The Sabbath is not the time to find your own pleasure, and it's not a time to do your own labor. And we see that they're fasting for strife and debate, and to smite. In other words, there is division, there is hatred, there is violence between brother and brother. They're fasting, but their attention is not to Yahuwah. They're doing it out of tradition and not seeking the face of Yahuwah. They are not humbling themselves. Verse 6. Is not this the fast that I have chosen? To loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, and that you break every yoke. Is it not to deal your bread to the hungry, and that you bring the poor that are cast out to your house? When you see the naked, that you cover him, and that you hide not yourself from your own flesh? Then shall your light break forth as the morning, and your health shall spring forth speedily, and your righteousness shall go before you, and the esteem of Yahuwah shall be your reward. So we see that this is the fast that Yahuwah wants. To stop sinning, to stop breaking the Torah. Yes, we are to fast and humble our souls. And we're also to do good works, to treat our fellow Israelite according to the Torah, to love each other, to help each other, to be kind to each other, to do right by each other. What good is it for us to fast and hate each other? Verse 10. And if you draw out your soul to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted soul, then shall your light rise in obscurity, and your darkness be as the noonday. If you turn away your foot from the Sabbath, from doing pleasure on my set-apart day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the set-apart of Yahuwah honorable, and shall honor him, not doing your own ways, nor finding your own pleasure, nor speaking your own words, then shall you delight yourself in Yahuwah, and I will cause you to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed you with the heritage of Jacob your father, for the mouth of Yahuwah has spoken it. So this is the fasting that Yahuwah desires for the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippurim. To do good, to take care of the needy, to help the helpless, not to do our own ways, not to seek our own pleasure, not to speak our own words, but to seek the way of Yahuwah, to humble ourselves, to stop sinning, to return to His Torah, and offend less. Matthew chapter 6. Moreover, when you fast, be not as hypocrites of a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear unto men to fast. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, that you appear not unto men to fast, but unto your Father which is in secret, and your Father which sees in secret shall reward you openly. So Mashiach warned his students not to be actors or hypocrites, or to show off their religious deeds, but to do a true fast, which is to refrain from food and drink and pray to the Father, not to make an outward appearance to the public, but to turn our hearts toward Yahuwah and humble ourselves before Him. Now we're going to look at what the historian Philo recorded about the Day of Atonement. Again, who is there who does not pay all due respect and honor to that which is called the fast, and especially to that great yearly one, which is of a more austere and venerable character than the ordinary solemnity at the full moon, on which indeed much pure wine is drunk, and costly entertainments are provided, and everything which relates to eating and drinking is supplied in the most unlimited profusion, by which the insatiable pleasures of the belly are inflamed and increased. But on this fast it is not lawful to take any food or any drink, in order that no bodily passion may at all disturb or hinder the pure operations of the mind. But these passions are wont to be generated by fullness and satiety, so that at this time men feast, propitiating the Father of the universe with set-apart prayers, by which they are accustomed to solicit pardon for their former sins, and the acquisition and enjoyment of new blessings. So we see here that the historian Philo contrasts the Day of Atonement with the feasts which happen at the full moon. And of course he's talking about the feast of unleavened bread, or Chag HaMatzot, and the Feast of Tabernacles, or Chag Sukkot, which both occur or begin on the 15th of their respective months, which of course happens at the full moons of those months. So we see here that in contrast to the Feast of Unleavened Bread and the Feast of Tabernacles, where there is entertainment and drinking and a limited amount of eating and enjoyment, on the Day of Atonement there is no food and there is no drinking, but there is a focus on praying to Yahuwah for forgiveness of sins. The third season takes place in the 7th month at the autumnal equinox. At the beginning of the month, the feast which begins the sacred month named the Feast of Trumpets, and which was discussed earlier, is celebrated. On the 10th day, the fast takes place, which they take seriously, not only those who are zealous about piety and set-apartness, but even those who do nothing religious the rest of the time, for all are astounded and overcome with the sacredness of it. In fact, at that time, the worse compete with the better in self-control and virtue. The reputation of the day is due to two reasons: one, that it is a feast, and the other, that it is purification and escape from sins, for which amnesty has been given by the favors of the gracious Elohim, who has assigned the same honor to repentance that he has not to committing a single sin. So we see here that Philo says that the Day of Atonement is what the Israelites consider to be the most important moed, or appointed time of the year. And he talks about how all Israelites observe this day. Not only the ones that are zealous about keeping the Torah, but even Israelites who don't observe any other moed, who do not observe any other appointed time, they will observe this day, the Day of Atonement, or Yom Kippurim, because this is the one time during the year where their sins can be forgiven. Concerning the appointed time called Yom Kippurim, or commonly called Yom Kippur, or the Day of Atonement, it is the 10th day of the 7th month of the Hebrew calendar. An observance of the Day of Atonement actually begins on the evening of the 9th day, going into the 10th day. It is a day of fasting. We see that the Hebrews understood the afflicting of the soul to be done through fasting, or abstaining from food and drink. It is a moed, or appointed time. On appointed times, or moedim, the Israelites were commanded to blow the trumpet. It is a Shabbat HaGadol, or a high Sabbath. There is no work to be done on this day. It is a Mikra Kodesh, or a set-apart meeting. So as we return to the ancient pathways of Yahuwah, returning to his covenant and desiring to fulfill his Torah, we need to come back to the Moedim and rehearse his appointed times according to his instructions. Fear Elohim and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Bind up the testimony, seal the Torah among my disciples. Shalom, family. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to click the subscribe button. Like, comment, and share.